welcome to another fish snacks video. In this tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to make the Purple Haze Cripple. It is by far one of my favorite mayfly patterns to fish. So let's get tying. Here are the materials we'll be using for this fly. We're going to be using some barbless hooks. We're going to be using some purple thread. For the tail, we'll be using mousse. We're going to add a little bit sparkly. We're going to be using some ice stub. For the wing, we'll be using this white McFlylon. And then lastly, we're going to do some hackle. We're going to be using brown Coachman, and then we're also going to be using some white and black Grizzly. So these are the materials we'll be using for this fly. This is the Purple Haze Cripple. It is one of my favorite mayfly patterns. So let's get tying. I'm going to loosen my vise, take this bug off, and I'm going to be grabbing a hook to start with. This hook is a barbless hook. I don't need to worry about pinching down the barb. So I'm securing it in the vise, making sure it's nice and firm. It's not going to move. That's great. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to pick up my thread. I'm using purple thread for this fly. So I'm going to go about almost halfway down the hook shank, and I'm going to start putting my thread on. And then I'm going to stop about right there. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to snip off the thread. And then I'm going to give about 2 or 3 more turns. And now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the tail. The tail, oh gosh. That's a lot of stuff. The tail is mousse. So I'm going to be taking about 8 little hairs from my thing of mousse. And I'm going to snip those off. And then I'm going to pick up my hair stacker. And before I put in the hair stacker though, I'm going to take off all these little, I don't know, the mousse almost have like an undercoat or something, so I'm gonna pull out all those. Okay, it looks like it's good to go, so I'm gonna take my hair stacker. I'm going to put in the tips first, so the pointy ends first into the hair stacker, and then I'm going to let them all drop in there. I have some that are pretty long, so I'm actually gonna snip them to make it shorter and make it easier on myself in a couple minutes. Okay, so my hairs are in the hair stacker. I'm gonna give it a quick few taps. And mine has a little window and I can see they're pretty straight, so I'm going to open it up. I'm going to carefully grab them. And now I'm going to set them on the hook. Oh yeah, they look really good. I'm going to set them on the hook. The tail should be about the length of the hook shank, so from the eye down to the bend. So I'm going to set it on top of the fly. I'm measuring it right now, and I'm going to transfer it. And I'm going to set it right there. I'm going to switch hands, grab my thread, and I'm going to start slowly doing some nice loose wraps. I'm trying my best to keep the mousse hair on top of the fly. And I'm going to tie down till about the bend of the hook. You can see these are really nice and straight. That's what we're aiming for. Okay, so I am now going to go towards the middle of the hook shank, and I'm going to get rid of these little tag ends. So I'm going to pull them straight up, and then I'm going to cut at a slight angle and set the little tag ends away. And now I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to wrap the rest of the mousse hairs down. Cutting it at that angle kind of helps it to have a little bit more of a more tapered body up here. It does a really nice job. That's a trick I learned a while ago. Okay, so now I have my tail in. I'm now going to build a body with the thread. I'm going for a tapered body, so I'm going to wrap my thread all the way back. Oops. And then I'm going to fix my tail really quick. There we go. I'm going to wrap all the way back to the bend of the hook where the tail starts. And now I'm going to wrap back towards where my thread starts, about halfway on the hook shank right there. And now I'm going to wrap back towards the tail, but since I'm making a tapered body, I'm not going to go all the way back to the hook bend. I'm going to stop probably I think that's like a centimeter or so. Now I'm going to make my way back up. And I'm going to do that again, but I'm going to stop a little bit sooner. So I'm going to stop about right there. And then I'm going back up to where my thread starts. And I'm going to do it a couple more times. That time. I'm going to do it one more time. Like that. And you can see it's kind of created a little, I think it looks like a little carrot. And I'm going to kind of fill in some of those gaps really quick. I think it looks like a little carrot. So that's kind of what I visualize when I'm tying. Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to add in a little bit of sparkle. This is Ice Dub by Hareline, and I'm going to grab maybe like 4 little fibers. I don't need that much. All I'm really doing is creating a little bit of an attracting part on the fly. So I'm licking my fingers. I'm going to touch my thread and kind of dampen it. And then I'm going to take my dubbing and I'm going to create a little dubbing noodle. And this dubbing noodle's maybe an inch long. It's not that long. Like I said, this isn't anything huge. It's just creating a little bit of sparkle on the fly to attract the fish. Okay, and honestly, that's plenty right there. So I'm going to fix that really quick. Try that one again. There we go. Looks a little better. Okay, so there's that little bit of sparkle up there on the fly. The next thing I'm going to add is the wing. The wing is going to be made out of this McFlylon white fluffy stuff. With the McFlylon, typically when they make it with like a fluff and then a braided, then a fluff, then a braided, then a fluff, then a braided. For this fly, what I do is I see the braided and there's some fluff. I'm going to cut right at the fluff right before the next braided part. So I'm going to snip that. And it's about an inch long. And then, so there's my little piece. Now I only need about half of this for this fly, for this size. So I'm going to take my fingers, I'm splitting it in half. And then now I'm going to gently pull it apart. And sometimes if you pull it apart too fast on that braided spot, it doesn't know what to do. And I'm going to pick a little bit thicker one. Okay, so here's my little half piece of the McFlylon. And now I'm going to tie it in where that little braided part still is. So I'm going to set the braided part on top of the fly. It's right by that sparkle. And now I'm going to take my thread and I'm wrapping back a couple wraps, kind of almost on top of that sparkly stuff. And now I'm going to wrap towards the eye of the hook and secure it down. I don't want to crowd the eye of this fly. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be going on here at the eye of the hook here in a few minutes. We want to make sure we're kind of conservative with what we put up there. Okay, cool. So our wing's in. And at this point, I like to cut this tag. There should be a little tiny white hanging out right there. That's fine. I'm going to kind of clean it up already before I do anything else. Okay, cool. So our wing's in now. The tag looks fine. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to put in some hackle. The two hackles that I use for this, two types of hackle, excuse me. I use the brown Coachman. And then I use the white and black Grizzly. So how I tie them in, I kind of fluff the feathers like that so they're straight up and down. And then I'm going to pull out some of these fibers so it creates this little tie-in spot, this little tag, this tie-in spot. So the colorful part of the colorful part of the feather is facing me. The little tag part's also facing me, and I'm going to give it about 3 ties. Like I said, this is going to get really chunky here in a second. I'm trying really hard to be really conscious of how many wraps I do with it. Okay, same thing with the Grizzly. I'm going to fluff it first, and then now I'm going to peel off some of those. So I created that little tag thing, and now same thing, colorful side towards me, and it's going to be right up against the brown Coachman one. Okay, so I am all done tying those in. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to let my thread hang, and I'm going to take my 2 feathers. They're going to be best buds. They're going to be next to each other, and I'm going to wrap them in together. For this size of fly, I can usually get about 3 wraps. There was 1, 2, and there's the third and last one. Now I'm going to hold my feathers down. I hold them nice and taut. I'm going to pull them a little bit towards the eye of the hook, and I'm going to kind of do this wiggly jig thing. And I'm with my thread, and then I'm securing the feathers down. So I do about 3 turns there. I'm going to take my hackle with my other hands, pull it towards back of the fly, the bend of the hook, do about 2 more turns. You can see, like I said, it got really crowded up there. So we're trying really hard to be conservative. All right, picked up my scissors. I'm going to snip off my hackle feathers. I didn't cut my thread. Woohoo! All right, do about 1 more turn just to be for sure. I'm going to now loosen my vise. I'm going to take my fly. I'm going to make it kind of, it's not totally vertical, but it's kind of that diagonal. And I'm going to do about 1 turn, 2 turns in there, right behind the eye of the hook. And now I'm going to pick up my whip finish tool. I'm going to whip finish this, and we're almost done. Right, I can do about 3 turns. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do 4 just to be safe. And then, ta-da! Pick up my scissors, do a quick snip, maybe. There we go. Oh, this is looking good. Okay, so I've taken the vise, I loosened it, I put my fly back ready to go. And then now I'm gonna shorten this little, this wing up because it's pretty long. So I like to make my wings about a little bit longer than my hackle. So if my hackle is this long, I'm gonna put it up just a little bit, give it a quick snip. And then, there we go. Now this wing, it can look crazy. That's totally acceptable because it's a crippled fly. It looks like an injured bug. So that's what the fish see. So if you want to kind of make it crazy, that's totally fine. The fish also, they seem to really, when they are keyed into this, when like a purple haze, and I'll put this one on, the more the fish kind of eat this and munch on it, the more not feather, the more the wing kind of gets crazy, and then I feel like that the fish eat it more. So this is the Purple Haze Cripple. It's one of my favorites. Go ahead and try to tie it. Let me know if you have any questions, and remember to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.